Aggies, Boise, Idaho. Brandon Horvath trying to get Utah State back on track. Emmanuel Aycott is back in the lineup for first place Boise State. Mountain West matchup coming up next. Utah State looking to wiggle their way inside the top 5, which will give them a bye in the first round of the Mountain West tournament. Welcome courtside with former All-American Dan Dickow. Chris Lewis here with you. Really is a crucial matchup with a lot at stake for both of these teams. You saw it there. Boise State, they're in first. On the Utah State side, they've dropped 3 in a row. They want to get back on the NCAA tournament bubble.
Well, Utah State might be the best 15-win team in the entire country. They've struggled as of late, but it doesn't reflect their pieces. They're very good on the offensive end. But for Boise State, they're looking at a possible at-large bid in the NCAA tournament, but more importantly for Leon Rice, competing for a Mountain West championship.
Well, you said competing. That's a good word to describe the power forward matchup in this game. For Boise State, it's the freshman Tyson Dagenhart up against the senior for Utah State and Justin Bean.
It's almost a changing of the guard with these two, Justin being a terrific senior. But first with Dagenhart, he is the front runner for freshman of the year in the conference. He's won the player of the week as a freshman 7 times. He's a versatile 4 who can score inside out, a lot like Justin Bean. Justin Bean has improved over the course of his 4 years in Logan, 5th in the country in double-doubles. He is a matchup nightmare for every opponent.
The first matchup between these teams decided by a 3-pointer with less than 3 seconds left. Should be another great one in Boise. Utah State, Boise State coming up next. You're watching March to March, presented by Principal Financial Group. ExtraMile Arena in Boise is filled up for an excellent matchup. Second meeting of this season between Utah State and Boise State. Utah State led by Brian Murphy's team. 1-5 in their first 6. Then they won 5 straight by double digits. They've been dropping 3 in a row. Starters for each squad. The highlight for Boise State, Max Rice is in the starting lineup for Emmanuel Aycott. Aycott, though, is available for Boise State, but he'll come in off the bench.
Looks like he's about to play, and that's a big improvement for Coach Leon Rice because Aycott is a very versatile wing.
And the Boise State head coach, certainly a front runner for the Mountain West Coach of the Year award this season, with Boise State tied with Wyoming atop the league standings. Gladden Armouche against Brandon Horvath. Armouche for the Broncos, Horvath for the Aggies as we're underway. A crucial late season Mountain West showdown. Boise State picked up their 20th win of the season last time out against Air Force. Armouche on the interior can't finish.
Going straight to the low block with Armouche. Had 22 points, 19 rebounds in their first matchup in Logan.
Bairstow, a couple of steps before putting it on the net. So Utah State travel is their first possession.
That's a rarity, a turnover from Utah State, and in particular Bairstow. He struggled to shoot it, so he's a little bit hesitant on the perimeter. A season ago, he would have let that fly.
Another key jab. One of the playmakers for Boise State. 5th year transfer from Oregon. Dagenhart steps on the sideline. So back-to-back travels. Or back-to-back turnovers, I should say.
Little slide step into the attack from Degenhart. Clearly stepped on the sideline.
Utah State, they dropped their last 3. They want to get back on the NCAA tournament bubble. Justin Bean, who's nearly 50% from 3. That time he's off. Broncos play that defensive style. Max Rice takes a 3. He's been much hotter as of late over the last few games. A loose ball foul underneath, and possession stays here with the Broncos.
Well, you're right. Max Rice struggled the first 15 games or so this season, but the last 2 games, 17 points as well as 14. And he is big because he and Shaver are probably their 2 best and most consistent 3-point threats.
Last foul on Justin Bean, the top player on the Utah State side. Key jab going to work against Bairstow. Shoulder move to the hoop, but it's called for the offensive foul.
Crowd does not like that, but Kejab's an interesting wing because he's got the ability to put the ball on the deck and get by you as well as back you down. Bairstow, a nice job of fighting for his space.
Utah State, they started the season 6-1. They are 9-11 since the start of December. Sort of a flip side where Boise State struggled until the start of December, where they have now won 17 of their last 19. Horvath takes a 3. Good shooter for a big. Settles off the front of the rim. Neither team has scored through the first couple of minutes. Shaver, who struggled from the floor in the team's first meeting, but then went and hit the game-winning shot with less than 2 seconds left for his first and only field goal of the game.
And what was funny about that game is he did struggle, but Leon Rice did not lose any confidence. Drew up the final play in possession to put the ball in Shaver's hands.
Ball away from Kejab. Armush again on the offensive glass. He had 10 O boards against Utah State in the first meeting, but an immediate travel after hauling it in. Keys to the game on each side.
For Utah State, they must rebound. Boise State leads the Mountain West in that category, and for the Broncos, drive down Utah State's assists. They average over 18 assists a game, does Utah State, so they must take them out of their offensive flow.
RJ Idarock gets the scoring started for Utah State, stepping behind the line and drilling a 3.
Well, one of the things that Leon Rice told us in shoot-around today was their pick-and-roll coverage must be elite today. You cannot mess up on mixed matches in pick-and-roll coverage, and a great high-low for Boise State. Armush to Degenhart.
He's 7-time, that's right, 7-time Mountain West Freshman of the Week this season. Horvath underneath, knocked away. And there's Emmanuel Acott. He missed the last 4 games with a knee injury. Coming in off the bench in this game, usual starter, but on the bench to work his way back, checking in for Abu Kejab. Justin Bean from downtown. Too strong, and Rice gets the long rebound. Acott, playmaker, as he's back in the lineup, finds Degenhart in the corner, and that's what Boise State was missing over the last 4 games.
Well, with him at the 4 and his ability to shoot it, that allows them to space the floor. It opens driving angles as well as gives him catch and shoot opportunities.
Horvath attracts attention. Bairstow, the release, and connects. Sean Bairstow, just his 6th made 3 of the year in 39 attempts.
Well, and he was a good 3-point shooter a season ago, shade under 40%. He's battled some injuries, a dislocated finger as well as a wrist earlier this season.
Armush underneath. Scoring picking up after being scoreless the first couple of minutes. Utah State in conference play last in the league in 3-point percentage. Surprising for a team that profiles as a good 3-point shooting bunch. That's a Bairstow turnover. Degenhart steps into a 3. Boy, they brought the house down early on.
Well, that shows you the confidence from the freshman from Spokane, Washington. Hit one a second ago.
And gets another steal. Back-to-back possessions for the freshman.
And that's one of the reasons he's been able to carve out a huge role, is because defensively he's got a great awareness and a competitiveness about him.
Shaver's wide open. Around and out. And Ashworth picks up the rebound. Ashworth having an excellent season, the sophomore. Averages 8.5 points per game and about 3.5 assists a contest. Degenhart defending Horvath. There's a couple of early turnovers. Bangs into the defender. It's a blocking foul on Max Rice. After a slow start, the three started to fall.
Degenhart knocks one down from the corner with the space, but not to be outdone. Bairstow coming back. We got a great one here in Boise early in the first half.
Boise State early lead, 7-6 over Utah State. These teams met in Logan last month, January 20th. Great game. Ladin Armush for Boise State was just a monster. 22 points, 19 rebounds. Just straight dominant with 10 O-boards. Got the Broncos in it enough for Marcus Shaver to hit one of his many big shots this season. A game-winning three with 1.4 left for the Broncos to win it by 3. Take a look at the player profile brought to you by State Farm, and that was Armush's best game of the year.
Yeah, the 19 rebounds, 10 of those coming on the offensive end of the floor. And that's why in the keys to the game for Utah State, they must contend with his physicality on the glass.
He averages over 8 boards per game, which is the 4th best in the conference. But what makes him unique is his ability to grab the offensive rebounds. Nobody does it better in the Mountain West.
Well, he's kind of always lurking around the baseline, as well as opportunistically when the shot goes up. He always puts himself in a position where he's a very quick reaction to an offensive rebound.
For a slow start shooting each way, offenses have heated up, being right that from Armush on the high low. Utah State's last game, a 19-point loss to San Diego State after hammering the Aztecs in the first meeting between those squads. Ashworth cut off. Horvath, UMBC transfer. Played for Coach Ryan Odom there. Gets it off in time, but doesn't hit the rim.
And that's what Boise State will do to you defensively. They always come up with a terrific game plan, and then they've got guys who accept the game plan and then execute it. A lot of their games are grinded out games. 11th in KenPom defensive efficiency on the season.
Mountain West, 3 teams in the top 20 in the nation in defensive efficiency. Shaver, a fadeaway against tough defense. Utah State hasn't scored in the last 2.5. Pick and pop, that's Horvath's game. Front of the rim. Degenhart's already hit a 3 from the corner. That time wheels around Armush, operating against Horvath. Beautiful spin on the block and draws the foul. He's not somebody who carries the offense typically for Boise State, but he has the ability to explode like he did the first time these squads met.
Well, it's a good matchup physically for Armush against Horvath. Horvath, more of a skilled 5 on the offensive end, wants to pick and pop, and then defensively, he uses his length as opposed to his size and strength.
Baycott. Yeah, he missed 4 games with a knee injury. One of Boise State's top wing options hits fouled on a left wing 3. Justin Bean, that's his second foul for Utah State standout senior.
That is enormous storyline here in Boise. Justin Bean averages close to a double-double on the season. Going to put Ryan Odom in a position where he has to make a decision. Leave him in or pull him out.
Meanwhile, with the Broncos at the line, Aycott just 57% for a Boise State team. They have a weakness. It is the free throw line. The 7th lowest free throw percentage in the nation.
And to stay on that, though, their last 8 games, they've really turned it around from the free throw line where they've been over 74%. But you're right. If they have an Achilles heel, it's their ability to make free throws in close games.
One of the things that Coach Leon Rice has said earlier this season is Aycott misses 2 of the 3. Now, a couple of things that don't last very long. Dogs that chase cars and teams that don't make free throws. Still Boise State up 4. Rylan Jones looking to end a 4-minute scoring drought for Utah State. Can't deliver. The Utah transfer off the bench. And it's a foul underneath as they're starting to pile up on the Aggie side. Shimon Zapala commits his first.
Those are the kind of fouls that Ryan Odom is okay with from Zapala. He's got terrific size on his bench, both with Zapala as well as Dorius. If they can come in and create a problem on the glass, that is important.
Excellent feed from T-Deb. And Max Rice is the recipient, Leon Rice's son. And the Broncos doubling the Aggies. Jones, who began the year as a starter, Ashworth replaced him in the starting lineup. They're both on the floor. And late shot clock as Boise State's defense tough to solve. Horvath goes with a hook and gets it to fall beautifully.
Soft touch from Horvath. The nice patience with Rylan Jones to find Horvath.
Aycott going to work off the screen. Starting the year 3 and 4, Boise State, one of the hottest teams in the country. 17 of the last 19 in the win column. Max Rice can't connect on a 3. Hamoda stops and floats it off. With base offense on each side, the pull from Aycott short. Overdue for a stoppage. Jones delivers. Hamoda works baseline. Big hot step. Jones wide open. In and out and falls.
That's a big shot for Rylan Jones. Missed a few games early in Mountain West play with concussion protocol. But he is tremendous assist to turnover ratio. He can shoot the ball. He's just reluctant at times to shoot it.
Utah State back within 1. Big and hard. Just that inside game, he really can do it all from all spots on the floor.
Oh, patience for a freshman. He crab dribble to get to his spot in the middle of the lane. He's got a tremendously bright future here in Boise under Leon Rice.
2-time Greater Spokane League Player of the Year in high school. Has made an impact immediately for Coach Rice's bunch. Reverse layup, count the bucket on the excellent cut by Z. Hamoda. Lucas Milner on the foul for the Broncos. Utah State clawing back in it, but the Broncos still in front by 1.
Degenhart with the patience, back down to his spots, but not to be outdone. The great cut from Z. Hamoda. Boise State Aggies in a tight one.
Boise State looking to get to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2015 when they took on Dayton in Dayton's building for the first 4. Derek Marks looks like He had a chance to send the Broncos into the round of 64, but it was Dayton down the stretch who did enough. And the Flyers went on to make that round of 64. To take a look at Boise State, their NCAA tournament resumes. Right now, Jerry Palm has them as a 9 seed, looking like a bunch that can get to the NCAA tournament.
I think they have every look of being an NCAA tournament team. The Mountain West currently has 4 teams projected in. A banner year for the Mountain West in 2015 when they had 5 teams in the NCAA tournament.
Now, how does the league this year compare to that?
You know, it's really hard to say, you know, but I think the big thing is when you look at it, I think you have 4 teams right now that are projected in that all are unique in different ways, but they all have chances to win a game, in my opinion, in the NCAA tournament.
They have a lot of different styles. Well, those teams that are differently built. Boise State have balanced squad. Utah State, for example, a player like Justin Bean, a potential player of the year. First free throw nailed by Z Hamoda. He was fouled before the break, made the bucket. Tied at 14 after Boise State jumped in front in the early going. Separation, unleashes a 3. Jones gobbles up the rebound. One of the things that Ryan Odom harped on in shoot-around today is transition for Utah State. Boise State likes to crash the offensive glass, leaving opportunities for Utah State to get points on the other end.
Well, Boise State is so good on the defensive end of the half court. You have to try to find opportunities. A rare turnover there from Rylan Jones. Must improve his angle with the dribble there to be able to enter to Zapala.
Already 6 turnovers for a Utah State team. It's one of the better squads at taking care of the ball. Najee Smith in, member of the Bronco bench, as well as Pavle Kuzmanovic. Powerful, but an offensive foul. So how this game is officiated on the interior, it could go a long way. Justin Bean for Utah State already has 2 fouls. He's on the bench. That's the first for Armouche.
And that would have been a big one had it gone the other direction, because Horvath himself has 2 fouls. Terrific job of reading Armouche turning back to that right shoulder.
Backdoor cut and a finish. Shimon Zapala.
Because of the way Utah State moves without the ball and has their ball screen continuity offense, you always have to keep your opponent above you. Zapala understanding the defender caught his head turning, back cut.
Utah State, 2-point advantage. Shaver, bounce pass, key jab. Well done. Just like in the first meeting, competitive early on. Great cut and another slam. Brandon Horvath this time runs the lane.
What a pass from Shoga on that pick and roll. Just threads the needle with the pocket pass.
Aggies have made their last 4. Ball had spin on it across the baseline. What an excellent pass that was from Keaton. At least a bucket. From one baseline to another with a curve on it. Wow.
How that pass got through is beyond me, but we've got a good one highlighted by some pinpoint passing. Shoga to Horvath, but Kuzmanovic, the nice finish. He'll have a chance at the 3-point play when we return.
CBS Sports Network is sponsored by Principal Financial Group. Get to know us at Principal.com. And by AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, and secure.
Ryan Odom was leading that UMBC team back in 2018 when They had that first round upset, the first ever 16-1 when they knocked off Virginia. And speaking of the madness that is March Madness Best Basketball Bracket Preview Show was earlier today on CBS. And as of the start of the day, of course, Gonzaga, Auburn, you see at the top there. Auburn, though, lost earlier on today to Florida, so already a shift to what we had early on today.
Yeah, the craziness of March begins in what, middle of February already? It's so fun and awesome to watch and be a part of the college basketball journey. But you're right, I would imagine Auburn will take a dip in the net as well as the coaches' polls.
Kuzmanovic and a layup before the break to complete a three-point play. Can't get it to fall. So 18 all between Boise State and Utah State. For the Aggies, that state for them. They want to get back on the NCAA tournament bubble. They've lost 3 in a row. Boise State right now contending for the league crown. They come in tied with Wyoming atop the Mountain West.
Yeah, Utah State's net sits at a 64. You know, the disappointing thing for them is the amount of close games that they have lost in league play.
And then they started 1-5 in the Mountain West, but their losses were all just right at the end, single-digit, one-possession games. Kuzmanovic triggers. Degenhart, another O-board for Boise State.
And Boise State, they don't mind sending 4 to the offensive glass.
That time a pick. See if it turns into a pick 6. Momoda collides with Degenhart. Degenhart knocks it away. It's out of bounds. And Boise State possession. And those are the winning plays that Coach Leon Rice talks about when he mentions
winning play is exactly right. Transition from defense, or excuse me, from offense to defense. But watch Degenhart straight up to contest. At the last second comes down, gets all ball. But that's important. Some of the best defensive teams in the country are taught to be vertical in challenging shots.
7th time, it almost looks like a misprint. 7 times. The freshman of the week in the Mountain West. Boise State gives it right back.
I'm going to stay on the topic of Degenhart. When he moved into that starting lineup, they have went on literally a 14-game winning streak, 17-3 as a starter. He's been a breath of fresh air. He's been a perfect addition to this roster.
And Dan, you've known him for a while, and here with Boise State in his first year, did you see this kind of impact coming right away?
Well, I'm from the Spokane area. I've actually worked with him a number of times over the years, but I'm not surprised in the success he's having, but how early it has come, because it was 5 games in and then he was moved into the starting lineup and his career has taken off. It's been fun for me to watch as someone who's known him for a number of years.
See Kijab there, guilty of that foul. That is his second. So perhaps the top player on each squad. Boise State's Abu Kijab and Utah State's Justin Bean. 2 fouls. First half, 6-minute mark. Shulga tried to float in the inbounds pass. Hit to the ground. He thought he was hip checked. No foul. And Utah State gives it away again.
That's just understanding the over-the-top pass like that. You come down with 2 hands, catch it, control it, and then go up to a finish. Shulga tried to catch and finish all in one motion.
Rice has played a lot better over the last 4 games. Had deep struggles early on this season. Sees a double team. And he was in the lane too long. 3-second violation, keeping the pivots alive in the middle of the paint. Eventually, get called for the 3 seconds.
Okay, Boise State likes to be in grinded out type of games. Defensively, they're great. Offensively, they can struggle at times. That was a microcosm of their offense at times. Leon Rice's son, Max. Not the prettiest of opportunities on the low blocks there.
Funny that 3-second was called. A lot of this game might boil down to how quickly the officials called that, because of, Boise State on the offensive glass. You get that because you have players that are down low around the paint quite a bit. The officials are quick on that. Could change the game. Shaver commits a foul. Ryland Jones handling for Utah State.
Shaver fights over the top of the pick and roll, gets back when Degenhart begins to leave, but Rylan Jones a little bit off balance, but I think Shaver did get him on the arm.
First on Shaver. Idle Rock, one of two UMBC transfers who played for Ryan Odom, and his fire stop. Patient possession, reaching foul, Matt Shulga. That is the 7th against Utah State, so the 1-1 upcoming for a team that struggles from the charity stripe. Boise State, who in this game from the line just 1 for 4. Degenhart, 78%, 1-1, got it. CBS Sports Network hits the dirt for an action-packed Cowboy competition as we travel to St. Louis for the Ticket Smarter Invitational. Catch PBR Unleash the Beast tomorrow night, 8 Eastern, on the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. So Utah State brings back Justin Bean with 2 fouls, player who averages nearly a double-double, 18 points, 9.9 rebounds a game.
Ryan Odom rolled the dice and kept Bean out for an extended stretch. Only a 2-point deficit. But you're right, he can be an impact the second he gets back in the game.
Against Armouche. Idle Rock stops. Ashworth releases. He's a sniper.
He plays with such confidence, does Stephen Ashworth. He's willing to step up and take big shots. His nose in there on the defensive end. He was part of the reason Shaver struggled in the first matchup in Logan. Missed his first 10 shots before knocking down the game winner.
And now those two locking horns. Shaver gets a step. Horvath says no. Big block shot. Broncos keep it. Bean gets it off the tip. One of the best in the conference in steals. Idle Rock, stop and pop. Armouche clears the glass. Great action. With Utah State up 1, Degenhart wants to change it. Shaver tips the rebound out of bounds. Utah State possession. The intensity picking up. Teams meeting for the 2nd time this season. Hopefully the game's as good as the first. So far, so good. Coming up on AT&T at the half, Brent Stover, Chris Walker, Sheldon Mack, Seth Davis, they're standing by in the New York studio. Get you caught up to speed on all the night's college basketball action. It's coming up on AT&T at the half. Boise State has been a different team since Tyson Degenhart has been in the starting lineup. Another reason why here tonight.
Oh, such a complimentary player to everyone else on the floor, but what gets lost a lot of times is his own particular skill set. He can shoot it from beyond the arc. He can back down a matchup and get to his sweet spot. 9 points on the night, 3 of 5 from the field. You are right, Chris. Since they inserted him to the starting lineup, they have taken off 17-3. He is the front runner for Mountain West Freshman of the Year.
And as a starter, he's averaging 13 points per game. And to your point on how he can do it a lot of different ways, 54% from the floor, it shows there's not a spot where he isn't comfortable.
Without a doubt. You mentioned he's a complimentary player. He makes others better. And that goes back to the great coaching that he had both growing up as well as his high school coach at Mount Spokane. He values winning. He does all the little things that it takes to win.
Corner 3, Horvath is off. While we're mentioning like little things players, guys who can do it all, should mention for Utah State, again playing without Brock Miller, who's sort of that role for Utah State over the years, and he's really turned into sort of a star level player. And he's been out with a back injury for a while. Team hopes to get him back at some point, but it's a big difference when he isn't there. Max Rice, count the bucket.
Star in your role. That's how you can earn yourself extra minutes. Max Rice has starred in that role as of late. got the start the last couple games because of Emmanuel Aycott's knee injury, but when he does that, he is such a bonus to the Bronco attack.
And he's the team's best free throw shooter at close to 80%. No surprise, it's been sort of a rock fight. Physical down low, low scoring.
You're going to get a lot of those in the Mountain West, especially when you match up against Boise State. And that Boise State-San Diego State game next Tuesday is going to be a complete rock fight. The first one, 42-37 win. That might have set back offensive basketball in college with that result.
We'll have that, though, on Tuesday on CBS Sports Network. Hamoda slices. Nobody picks him up. And see Hamoda, who wears that number 24 as he grew up a fan of watching Kobe Bryant. I don't look like that on the drive.
Slithering through the key. Didn't play in their previous game, but he's made the most of his opportunities when he's gotten extended minutes.
Shaver, circus layup. No, but he'll head to the line.
Utah State just a little late in their help side coverage. Shaver, a nice job of turning the corner, getting his shoulder down, and attacking the rim. Gets himself to the free throw line. We've mentioned a number of times now the struggles from the Broncos at the line over the course of the year. Shaver doesn't particularly fall into that category, though. 77% on the season.
That last foul on RJ Idlerock, the UMBC transfer, is first. Shaver 2 for 2 on that trip. Boise State 6 for 9 from the free throw line. Utah State's only been to the line once so far tonight. Bean, who has those 2 fouls, avoids a charge, but can't deliver on the basket.
Boise State done such a nice job on Bean. He's been in double figures every game but one this season.
Shovel to Armouche. A little too hot to handle.
Too hot to handle is right. Emmanuel Aycott. He has the ability to make point guard plays, but you also have to make the simple play. That one was not there.
Bean, all Mountain West second team a season ago, likes the high post, delivers low post. Idlerock connects, and is fouled.
Simple flex cut action. Kuzmanovic got caught behind. Idlerock, nice job on the catch and then the patience. He's, as you mentioned, transferred over when Ryan Odom got the job from UMBC. He hasn't put up the numbers that Brandon Horvath has as well in transferring him himself, but he's a big-time glue guy for Ryan Odom of understanding the system and the culture that he wants to implement here in Utah State.
Idlerock from London, as Justin Bean does head to the bench, hasn't scored yet, battling foul trouble. He never picked up the third. Well, Coach Odom trying to spare him from picking up foul number 3 in the last minute 15. Armouche, interior footwork on point. Nine lead changes, 5 ties. Competitive first half. Idlerock going to work again, turns the corner, gets Armouche in the air, and high off the glass. The London native going to work.
Just made the comment about how he has made the gradual transfer from UMBC to Utah State almost seamless. That was a tremendous turn the corner, and then he got Armouche up off the ground. Nice to finish big.
Armouche off the back rim. He had 22 and 19. Almost a 20-20 when these teams met in January. Utah State holds for 1. A 1-point lead on the road. Horvath finishes. It's so much for holding for one. You get a layup, you take it. Let's give the Broncos a chance. Shaver, high right, shave! Great sequence to end a fun first half in Boise. Seeing if it got off in time. Indeed it did. Shaver. After on the other end, Horvath got one to go.
Well, Utah State made the most of their opportunity to end the half, but Marcus Shaver, as he's proven time and time again with the clock going down, normally at the end of the game, this time at the end of the half, makes a big play.
First half is fun. 30-29, Utah State with the lead after the break. We'll send you to Brent and the gang in New York, AT&T at the half. You're watching college basketball on CBS Sports Network. It's March to March, presented by Principal Financial Group. You're watching March to March, presented by Principal Financial Group. Started the second half with Utah State, a 1-point lead on the road against Boise State. With former All-American Dan Dickow, Chris Lewis here with you. So the first half, 10 lead changes, 5 ties. We mentioned at the top, when these teams meet, it's always close. First half lived right up to it.
Yeah, today's been no difference. We had a great game with these two teams earlier this season in Logan. This one's shaping up to maybe go down to the final possession as well. But when you look at all things being said, Boise State's done what they typically do defensively, make things difficult, and Utah State makes plays for others.
Well, R.J. Idlerock has been making a lot of plays for Utah State. He averages 8 a game. He had 8 in the first half.
Well, he did all of his damage late in that first half. A step behind 3, as well as a couple very opportunistic finishes. One off of a nice cut. The second one where he just turns the corner in pick-and-roll situation.
We'd like to take a look at the game summary brought to you by AT&T 5G. And both teams, for it being such a low-scoring game, actually shot it pretty well. And as usual, imagine this game will go down to the last 4 minutes. Both these teams have had a lot of experience in those close games.
And you got to factor in the fact that Utah State's biggest star, Justin Bean, scoreless because of foul trouble, and then their second leading scorer, Brandon Horvath, he has been a little bit better playing with 2 fouls, but not much. Look for Coach Ryan Odom to try to get one or both of them untracked early in the second.
To begin the second, Horvath, just like he ended the first half, getting loose near the rim, and Utah State has a 3-point lead.
Again, another play making a nice opportunity arise for your teammate. Horvath, the recipient of the great pass.
Boise State looking to avoid their second loss in their last 3 games. They're 17-2 overall since the start of December. Foul on Utah State, Sean Bairstow's second. Utah State, Ryan Odom there. He's had a roller coaster Mountain West of starting 1-5 in the league with a bunch of close losses, then going 5-0, winning those by double digits. But after a tough overtime loss to Wyoming, they've lost back-to-back games since then, so it's a 3-game losing streak heading into tonight. Shaver with the clock winding down, knocks it down.
Well, he hit a big 3 at the end of the first half as the buzzer expired. This time opportunistic with the shot clock winding down.
There's something about a buzzer,
I guess.
Gets that guy going. Defending Ashworth. Bean had 2 early fouls. Kept quiet in the first half. Ashworth pulls. Make that Bairstow can't knock it down. Deep 3 for Max Rice. Oh, yeah!
Deep 3 is right. A good 5 or 6 feet from behind the line. He is starting to find his shooting stroke deep into Mountain West play. That's a great sign for Broncos.
He was a great shooter in his first couple of years as Bairstow's passes tipped and picks. He's had a chilly start to the season, getting back into form. Crunch time of the season.
To be fair, battled injuries at the end of last season, surgery in the offseason. It's taken him a while to get back.
Shaver, the playmaker. Armush connects with two.
And Armush, again, just lurking around the paint, whether it's on the offensive glass or getting in the vision of teammates.
Boise State, the score of the game's last 8, and have opened up a lead over Utah State. Tuesday night, 9 Eastern, we bring you more Boise State basketball as the San Diego State Aztecs make their way to Idaho. Don't miss tip-off right here on CBS Sports Network. Well, San Diego State's one of the top 4 in the league that Jerry Palm right now has in his projected NCAA tournament field. But Dan, out of those 4 teams, does one emerge as the favorite at the Mountain West tournament in Vegas?
I wish I could answer that for you, but I honestly see 4 toss-ups right here. I think they're 4 really good teams in different ways. Boise State, San Diego State based on the defensive end, and then Colorado State and Wyoming both have great scoring duos.
Can't wait for the Mountain West tournament, the Thomas and Mack Center, CBS Sports Network.
Like how I dodged your question, though, Chris?
I knew what to expect at this point. You didn't want to commit. Utah State, 3 seconds in the lane. So Boise State, you talked about it just then, their defense, and that time it works out to force a turnover.
Boise State did such a good job at shoot-around of talking about how to take away the cuts and the screening actions of Utah State. That time, Degenhart and Armush, a great job of coming together on that double team.
Bean was the one in the lane too long. Degenhart 3 short, Idle Rock rebounds. Utah State hasn't scored in 2.5 minutes. Ashworth tries to sneak it through. Idle Rock does recover. Every pass needs to be contested. Moda uses the pass fake to create space.
Tremendous patience. Degenhart came over in weak side to shut down the direct line drive. He went back. Zamoda, the patience to then continue on with his footwork.
A bump and a foul. See the hand up for Z Hamoda. First on the backup wing for Utah State. Hamoda went to 1 year in prep school in Maine. That's where he got on Ryan Odom's radar, but he's believed to be the first NCAA D1 player born in Bahrain.
Utah State team is very well represented. International players, 7 players on this roster from overseas.
Rice spots up, hit a deep one earlier. Diving, Hamoda tied up with a couple of players on Boise State's side, and the arrow keeps it on this side with Boise State. Hamoda providing that spark off Utah State's bench.
That's a great example of being ready to play. In their previous game against Nevada, got a DNP CD. I saw a number of those in my NBA career, but they always have to be ready to go.
Shaver fadeaway jumper, he's fouled. He'll head to the line as Ashworth commits the foul.
Anytime a guard gets a post-up opportunity, it's like a dream. They take their time. They want to make the most of it. Shaver draws the foul, gets himself to the free throw line for 2.
He's in double figures scoring. Only had 3 points, but the biggest 3. These teams met in January. The game winner with 1.4 to go for Boise State's 11th straight win. Carried that winning streak to 14 games. Part of their fantastic run so far in the league.
Every team needs a closer when it comes to March, whether it's conference tournament or NCAA tournament. I think Boise State has that guy in Shaver who's willing, one, but then two, he's able to make big shots. Nice cut.
Justin Bean receives and finishes with the contacts. Justin Bean is on the board finally for Utah State.
Utah State executes as well as anybody in the country, makes plays for others. Justin Bean, a terrific backcourt. Ashworth, the find. We got a great one at ExtraMile Arena.
The Legacy Project with Boise State was organized by Mike Campbell, Trent Johnson, Carl Powell, and Booker Brown with the support of Boise State Athletics. The initial group is a proud fraternity of black Boise State athletes competed in the late 60s to 1980. Legacy founders stated that they believe that well-deserved recognition of black former student athletes shines a bright light on Boise State and the state of Idaho as a whole, which throughout the rest of the Mountain West, plenty of great stories to be told, not just Black History Month, but really any month. Utah State at the free throw line with Justin Bean. He made the bucket before the break. First couple of points in the game for Justin Bean, who averages 18 and close to 10 boards. But he's been kept in check. Early foul trouble, a part of it. And so is Boise State's defense.
Early in the season, Kejab would have let that three fly. That's one of the reasons they went on that 14-game win streak. Guys started understanding their roles much better.
And how about Utah State, though, defensively on that possession, connected?
Much better early in rotations as Amada knocks down the three. Justin Bean struggling. That's important to find another scoring option off the bench.
Zia Moda is just a 23% three-point shooter. Stepped into that confidently to tie the game up. Kejab against Amoda. 24 on 24.
That's Kejab's game right there. Mentioned passing up the three on the previous possession, which was the right decision. He is so good in that back down game. One of the best in the Mountain West at that.
Jones, the Utah transfer, one of the best playmakers in the league, top 5 in assists in the Mountain West. Moda. Bean gets it late. Degenhart rejects. A grenade for Hamoda. Didn't get it off in time.
That is Boise State defense exemplified. Great in help, take away their first actions, and then don't give up on the play. Degenhart coming up with a block shot as the shot clock is about to expire.
Big reason why Bean only one field goal for his 2 points. Boise State operating up 2. Low pass for Kejab. Armouche rocketed the feed and staying here with Boise State.
Rocketed is right. Armouche needs to move that ball to the wing, improve the angle of the post entry.
Boise State on their way, perhaps their 8th all-time NCAA tournament appearance. Take care down the stretch. Kejab climbs the ladder, crashes on the way down. Wouldn't take no for an answer. A couple of free throws.
That right there is how you attack the rim. Horvath, Ryland Jones, both a little late to react. Kejab was already elevating on his way to the rim. That would have been a poster. That was a heck of a rim attack.
All conference a season ago, Abu Kejab. For the last 2 games, scoring a bit down, only 8.5, but this season leading Boise State at 14 points. Also, considered 6 boards again.
zone 2. RJ Idlerock had 8 points, his season average in the first half. Stephen Ashworth gets a break. Lots of motion for Utah State. Jones sets up Horvath. Degenhart defense. Idlerock. His turn to rock. Crossover. Lefty drive. Degenhart takes another charge. Idlerock, the offensive foul. His second.
If you want to get on the floor as a freshman, you've got to do the little things, and those are usually on the defensive end. Degenhart covers the pick and roll well, and then on the switch keeps Idlerock in front. Takes the charge. And then a little finger point action. I wonder what that's all about.
He's done that a couple of times. Boise State had a game, an overtime win on the road at Fresno State earlier this season. Orlando Robinson, potential all-conference big man, had 4 offensive fouls because Tyson Degenhart so good at taking charges. Key jab unleashes a fadeaway, and Boise State is back up 6. Muscles his way inside. Count the buckets. What a game for Idlerock.
Patience on the pick and roll. Gets key jab on his hip. And then with his strength is able to float it up on the glass. Gets it to drop. Chance of the three-point play. We've talked a number of times about Boise State being so good on the defensive end. That is difficult to do against a Utah State offense because they do such a good job getting the ball moving side to side. They change angles on their pick and rolls. They can space it with Horvath as a pick and pop big.
Talented offense. Lucas Milner comes in. Key jab on that last foul, his third. He remains in. Idlerock completes the three-point play. Got a big lead guard. He's 6'8", transfer from Arizona. Height to open up a lot of options. That time he's cut off. Ramona can match him on that height. Aycott. Jones tried to shoot the gap. 5 to shoot. Degenhart floater. Milner there. Fouled. Looks like Hamoda was in the area for Utah State. It is his second.
Milner getting the call here in the second half with Armouche on the bench with a couple of personal fouls, but he's a big that's had a couple good games this season when he's been called upon.
13 points for Milner, and Boise State's win against Air Force last timeout. Didn't miss a shot. 13 points in that game, a career high. He had 11 all year prior to that. Well, Boise State at the line. Struggles continue.
Touched on it a couple times. 7th worst free throw shooting team in the country, although they have gotten better in the last 8 games or so.
Good matchup here. Jones defended by Shaver. Sets up Hamoda. Uses the pump fake. Great pass to a cutting Bean. That's how Justin Bean averages close to 19 a game. And Utah State forces a turnover. Bean stuffs it. Utah State in front.
Justin Bean, the previous possession, a perfect opportunity cut on the baseline drive, but Aycott's got to take better care of the basketball.
After being scoreless in the first half, Bean with 6, Degenhart to end the run. And here comes Utah State. They scored the game's last 7. Zapala sets the screen. Opposite B, Hamoda lines it up. Miller pulls in the rebound. See a lot of huffing and puffing is overdue for a stoppage. That doesn't stop Marcus Shaver. On the line, so it is a 2.
Drag screen in transition is unbelievably difficult to guard and contain, but when you have Shaver's creativity with the ball, it makes it even harder.
And Shaver picks the pocket of Jones. The crowd disagrees with a foul on Shaver. Utah State has climbed back into this game, took a brief lead, but now down 1. But thanks to their defense, Justin Bean capping off back-to-back baskets. And then Shaver the long 2. You're watching March to March, presented by Principal Financial Group.
College basketball on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Boise State a 1-point lead. Marcus Shaver Jr. for Boise State.
Continues his hot play as of late. The last 4 games, he's averaged 16 a game. The transfer from the University of Portland has terrific range. He's got creativity. He creates space. He's been big throughout today.
You know, Dan, if this game is close, he's going to find a way to get the shot off. 3 big shots this season to either win or tie the game in the closing seconds, including Utah State. Rylan Jones had the timeout, the Utah transfer for Utah State, outed by Acott. Part of the reason Boise State profiles as one of the better defensive teams. A lot of big players who can defend guards. Acott reaches in, forces a steal. G-Jab, Acott running the break. G-Jab, stops for 3, and hits.
Terrific decision by Acott to play under control, play off at 2 feet, kick it back, key jab, shoot the wide open 3, not the contested one.
Does Utah State have a counter? Shuga, the backup wing, draws a David Hart foul.
Jab, a nice steal, gets it up ahead to Acott transition. There you see it. That is the right decision. There's nothing there. Play off at 2 feet, wait for your trailer. Key jab takes the right 3. Early in the season, as mentioned, he was, in my opinion, shooting too many threes and contested at that. When he plays to his strengths, he's as good as they get on the wing in the Mountain West.
That's Boise State foul on Emmanuel Acott, his first. An aggressive game so far for Hamoda, the men at the summit. Shaver wiggles. Key-jab directs. Jones defends. And a couple of hands on the back to a ball handler who had his back to the basket, not allowed to do that, so that's a defensive foul.
Comes down to awareness. Key-jab understands he's got the size advantage on Rylan Jones, so he's going to try to back him down. Utah State not coming early for the double team. Rylan Jones put in a position where he gets called for the foul.
1-and-1 for Key-jab. Kind of time to think about that one. And Boise State 10 for 16 from the free throw line. 7th lowest free throw percentage in the nation coming in. Left a few at the charity stripe. Moda against Key-jab. Somehow finds Jones. Idle Rock has to hurry. Elbow J. Line drive. Dagenhart pulls it in. And another foul on the perimeter for Utah State, and it's team foul number 8, so another 1-and-1. Hamoda's third personal.
Pomoda's in a good defensive position. And Acott attacks, and Pomoda sticks the knee out. Understanding where the pick and roll is coming, force your opponent to use the pick and roll where your help's going to be. You can't let him reject the screen in that situation.
Sean Bairstow. Brother Cam was a star in this conference with New Mexico, all Mountain West, and former Mountain West Tournament MVP. 2 free throws that go in for Boise State. They could certainly use it. Meanwhile, Utah State could use a bucket. They've been scoreless over the last 3 minutes. And Boise State, after being down 1, has opened up a 6-point advantage. Once again, that shot clock gets under 5 seconds before Utah State breaks the perimeter. Degenhart wants Idle Rock. Freshman against senior. Senior wins the battle. Idle Rock loses. Jones recovers. Where does Utah State get their offense here against this tough Boise State defense?
You got to find ways to manufacture easy opportunities. Pick and roll many times is the way to go. There it is. Pick and pop action with Brandon Horvath. Play to your strengths. Get a little bit downhill, put the defense in rotation, and Horvath steps from behind the line, knocks the 3 down.
He's 6'10", can shoot it. His high school senior year, he was only 5'9". Armoose is thrown away by Bean. Utah State can tie it with a 3. Horvath hits it deep. Armoose strong to recover. Every possession is scrappy. Jones is fouled. Acott shrugged his shoulders as Boise State commits the personal. Horvath was only 5'9" in high school. Always helps to have a growth spurt. Aggies within 3. Coming up next on CBS Sports Network, the Bryce Hamilton Show. Mountain West leading scorer. Last time he took on Colorado State, 42 points on the road for UNLV to pull the upset. That was the most, tied for the most in a Mountain West game this year. Game 2 of our Mountain West tripleheader. Colorado State faces UNLV, followed by the Aztecs looking for a win on the road against Fresno State at 10 Eastern. Watch all the action right here on CBS Sports Network. Well, that's what he did to Colorado State. Just went into Moby Arena and lit it up.
He's a big, strong lefty who can shoot it. He can put it on the deck. He can finish with contact in traffic. Really good player. If UCLA would have been fighting for a league title, maybe he would be in contention for Mountain West Player of the Year. But overall, Kevin Kruger, I think, has the running Rebels on a nice path.
Mountain West loaded with experienced talents. Emmanuel Acott committed a foul before the break, and out of the stoppage, his 3rd foul. He missed the last 4 games with a knee injury. Came in off the bench in this one. Max Rice got the start, and Acott checks out with 6:49 left, and Rice comes in. Fouls piling up. You start to look at 1-and-1 and double bonus situations. Boise State, such a poor free throw shooting team. You wonder if that could be a story here in the last 6:40.
Yeah, that really hasn't bit them at any point up till now, but you kind of have the sense or thought that it might. It's going to be important that they keep shooting it from the free throw line the way they've been trending. The last 8 games, 74% from the line, but throughout the season, it hasn't been pretty at the line for Leon Rice's group.
Shaver, step back long two. He did it again.
That's the creativity that Shaver has. You get a switch, he gets the big just off balance, creates that space, the confidence to knock it down.
Only had 3 points in these teams' first meeting, 15 tonight. Idle Rock gets the friendly roll on the road.
Boise State switched on that pick and roll just as Utah State did, and Shaver had a knockdown from the top. Idle Rock recognizes it, attacks Degenhart.
And Idle Rock wrestles with Kejab and gets called for the foul. And that is the 9th against Utah State. Idle Rock's 3rd, 1-1 for Kejab, 67%. The player born in Sudan, moved to Canada at age 9. Now a member of Boise State. Does hit the front end. He certainly has a first-team all-conference resume this year. Just a tough conference to crack it.
Second team a season ago. I'm sure he's going to have strong consideration for first team as he misses the second, but he's been a tremendous addition in Boise. Started his career at Oregon. Acott started at Arizona, so Leon Rice doing a nice job of working the transfer portal and getting the right guys.
Degenhart switched against Idle Rock. Degenhart guilty. Thought he had position, but Idle Rock draws the contact in the axe.
Good call from the official. Idle Rock, a bigger guard, has those wide shoulders, the ability, whether it's a guard or a big, defending him, can create some space and play through contact. With Bean struggling tonight, Idle Rock has stepped up and kept Utah State in the game.
Now, hasn't been much of a scorer this year for Utah State, but he was at UMBC for Coach Ryan Odom. He led the squad in scoring a season ago.
Coach Odom has told me on other occasions that, Idle Rock kind of felt his way at UMBC to grow into a role halfway through the freshman year. He became a starter. Very similar here with Utah State. Kind of learned the roster, the character makeup of other guys, and then took his time, but he's made the most of it.
Speaking of taking the time and making the most of it, exactly what Kejab did there.
Another example of just playing to your strengths. Back down, get to your sweet spot. No double comes, patiently get to your finish.
Idle Rock has an opening. Rice secures. Feels like a big possession. Chance to go up 3 possessions with under 5 minutes left. Kejab matched up against Idle Rock.
No double coming again on Kejab.
Rice unleashes. What a pass from Ashworth. Through traffic on a bounce. Horvath the other side of the lane. Armus alters. Jones wants 3. Horvath rebound. Poked away Kejab. Off the foot of Horvath. Boise State ball.
It looked to me as if it may have been off of Armush. I'm sure we'll get another look at it. Keep an eye on Armush's leg. Yes. Wow. Yeah. Horvath has every right to be upset about that one.
Oh yeah, that's pretty clear. And under 2 minutes is when the review trigger hits. We're outside of 4 minutes.
A low-scoring game like this, every possession is crucial.
Degenhart knocked away by Bean. Ryland Jones to the deck. A scrappy transfer from Utah makes another excellent hustle play.
Ryland Jones, such a unique player. Two-time Mr. Basketball in the state of Utah. Only 3 players have accomplished that. Changing coaches at Utah, he decided to make a change himself. He's done a nice job in year 1 for him at Utah State.
Horvath, shorts. Hamoda climbing up to grab it. Another chance for Utah State. Two-time Utah Mr. Basketball finds Justin Bean. He can't get it. Horvath another O-board. Ryland Jones, bang!
You cannot give extra possessions to a good offensive team like Utah State. 2 offensive rebounds on that possession leads to a 3.
Timeout called by Boise State. It's getting intense at ExtraMile Arena.
Extra possession rebound leads to an open 3 from Ryland Jones. This one has the look of going down to the wire once again.
Crunch time in Boise. Boise State a narrow 2-point lead against Utah State. It's time now for Worth a Watch, brought to you by Principal Financial Group. And Marcus Shaver Jr. in close games is a player you got to keep an eye on.
Well, late in February and in March, you need a closer. Marcus Shaver has proven to be that guy over the course of the season. Who knows? We've got a tight one here. There might be another opportunity for Shaver to be a closer tonight.
He hit the game winner against Utah State earlier this season, January 20th. Hit a game winner the next game against San Diego State right at the end. He hit the game-tying shot for Boise State 2 games ago against Colorado State. And the Broncos ended up dropping that in overtime. So, Dan, you talked about rebounding and driving down the assists at the top of the game.
Utah State's done a tremendous job on the glass. They're winning that battle right now. Last 3 made by Ryland Jones was because of an offensive rebound for the Aggies and for Boise State. Drive down Utah State assist numbers. Well, right now, Utah State on track to keep up with their season average.
Boise State has been excellent in close games. 6 of their 11 Mountain West wins by 2 possessions or fewer. Too aggressive Hamoda, who is stunned. That is his 4th foul all this half. And double bonus, couple of free throws for Boise State, a team that struggles from the line, 7th lowest percentage in the nation, just 64%.
Well, that's kind of one of those ones where you're disappointed in the foul, but you might be excited about the outcome because of the struggles at the line. But really, that was poor spacing for Boise State. Try to enter the ball to Hijab at the elbow. Multiple defenders around.
All-conference second team a year ago. Hijab trying to shake it off on his right arm. Double bonus. One down. Utah State on the flip side, close games has been a nightmare for Coach Ryan Odom. See right there, 2-6 in games decided by 3 or fewer. Had a tough loss at home against Boise State. 4 of their 8 Mountain West losses have been by 1 possession. You can just reverse a couple of plays this year, and Utah State could be contending for the league title.
Lots of people follow Ken Palm and his analytics for your efficiencies, offensive, defensive categories. Utah State, number 344 in the country in luck, based off Ken Palm.
That time unlucky, being an excellent shooter, misses a top of the key 3 wide open.
Expect Boise State to play deep into the shot clock and ball in Hijab's hands.
Ball in the hands of who they call Big Shot Shave for another dagger!
Well, you started on one side with Hijab, got to the weak side, and Shaver, another big shot tonight.
Idle Rock loses it on the way up. A late whistle. It's a giveaway for Utah State. Marcus Shaver Jr. again big time in Boise.
Degenhardt a switch to free him up. Horvath switches. Shaver has had a field day on switches this evening. Knocks down the triple from straight away.
The officiating crew looking at the monitor here. That last play was a turnover for RJ Idlerock. One more look at it.
Not quite sure what they would be looking at. I would imagine all three officials were at an angle they would know Shaver didn't touch the ball. We get some clarification.
Because it was out of bounds, because the ball went up above the backboard. So you can take a look at who was the last to touch out of bounds with under 2 minutes left. But it was clearly off the hands of Idlerock. All right, so for Utah State here, they're down 7, a minute 44 left. Boise State's such a poor free throw shooting team. Does that make you consider going to the foul game a little earlier than a lot of teams would?
Well, I think you definitely have to consider that. I mean, Armush, who's in the game now, is a 41% free throw shooter. Hijab, not a great free throw shooter himself. Degenhardt, a freshman, so maybe he hasn't been in that situation too many times. But you're right. They do decide to go to the free throw game early.
Ashworth a bit banged up. And it's been the double bonus for the last couple of fouls. Now Marcus Shaver was fouled there. He's one of the better free throw shooters at 77%.
And that's what Boise State, knowing what now is going to happen each time they get the ball, you have to funnel and direct the ball into Shaver's hands, Max Rice, and Degenhardt's hands, your three best shooters on the team.
19 points for the Portland transfer. He could fill it up in the West Coast Conference. When he was with Portland, not as much of a scorer here at Boise State, but he hits the big shots when they matter. Ashworth blocked by Shaver. Jones. Bean launches. Just hasn't been his night. Idlerock crashes into Rice. Offensive foul.
Utah State has put up a valiant effort on the glass. Idlerock comes up with it. Crashes into Max Rice, trying to create some space. Easy call from the outside official, Nate Harris.
Fourth foul on Idlerock. Taking a look again. Making sure that elbow didn't get loose up towards the head, I imagine.
That's the only thing that I could think about that they would be looking at in this scenario, is if it were maybe a flagrant one. I don't think there's any reason to give that a flagrant one call. Typically in a situation like this where it is unclear and an official will come give us what they decided upon, but a flagrant one is unavoidable, unnecessary contact, 2 shots in the ball. A flagrant 2 would be excessive or severe, and that would result in an ejection. I personally don't think that would fall into either of those 2 categories. In real time, it just looked like a charge.
Well, if they do call the flagrant, you're talking about free throws and the ball. And that could pretty much, Boise State would connect on the free throws, knock this one out of the realm of possibility for a comeback.
The only other thing I could think about would be, is Was the defender, Max Rice, inside the restricted area, or was he outside?
A two-pronged approach on the review here. And they called the offensive foul on Idle Rock. And they have confirmed the offensive foul. No extra to it, confirming just a common foul.
Good call by the official. Definitely you want to get it right. It's a very important stretch of this game and Boise State's season. But for Utah State, that would have been
win here for Boise State would put them a half game up on Wyoming atop the Mountain West standings. Utah State loss would be their 4th in a row, further away from any bubble consideration.
Now defensively, Utah State, I was just about to say, you've played defense for 18 seconds. You just got to let that possession go. You can't foul. If you're going to foul, you got to do it early in the clock there as opposed to with 12 on the shot clock. Especially with the fact that you foul one of their best free throw shooters in Degenhardt, who's just under 80% on the season, while Boise State is one of the worst in the country. You've got to understand that. Funnel the ball to the 4 free throw shooters and then be ready to foul at that moment in time.
I mean, how big of a problem could this be, though, going down the road for Boise State? But you said they've shot the free throws a lot better over the last handful of games.
Yeah, the last 8 games, they've been nearly 75% in that stretch. But basketball and free throw shooting can be mental at times. You've got to believe that there's maybe a chance for that to creep in at some point, maybe in the conference tournament, or hopefully, if you're a Boise State fan, in the NCAAs.
That ends a 1-for-9 field goal drought for Utah State. Idle Rock continues his excellent night. Gajab heads to the line. So how much is Utah State down the stretch? You mentioned that unlucky word. How much of it was open shots that were missed? How much of it was Boise State clamping down defensively as Ryland Jones is fouled out?
Well, I was able to see Boise State earlier this season in Spokane when they played Washington State, and what I saw was a team that was starting to believe that they could be a good defensive team. Now what you're seeing is a team that knows they're good defensively. They're 11th in the country defensive numbers. They don't make anything easy on their opponents. Tonight they didn't rebound the ball very well. Had they done a little better job of cleaning up the glass, I think we would have seen a double-digit victory for sure. But, you know, hats off to Utah State. They didn't shoot it well, and they hung in there.
And the big story in this game is they're trying to get the player on in substitution. And right now, away from the frame of the screen, you have Coach Ryan Odom, who is irate, and he was angrily pointing towards Leon Rice, who they met right near center court over by the sideline. There's a little bit of a delay. When you have the 5th foul, you can have to pause to choose who you want to bring into the game with the player fouling out. This is Max Rice. That's not starting at all. Don't talk to my son like that. Gajab misses a second. You heard the boos of the crowd as, again, it was more Ryan Odom just angrily directing his attention to the officiating crew. Utah State unraveling. Shaver pulls it in, and that could just about wrap it up. Boise State tested once again, but as they've done nearly all season, they pass it.
Shot will need to be taken with the differential and shot and game clock, but this Mountain West Conference is something to behold this year. The conference tournament in Vegas is going to be off the charts.
Degenhardt puts on the finishing touches. And with 3.8 left, of course, a stoppage.
Well, officials need their time on TV, too. That was clearly off before the shot clock buzzer.
Just more time for the ExtraMile Arena crowd in Boise to soak it in.
That's one thing with Boise State athletics. The football team proved if you win, they will come out and support. This has been a great atmosphere tonight.
Crowd here in Boise gets to celebrate another home win. Boise State remains in first place in the Mountain West. 68-57 the final. Mountain West standings, you can see first place 12-2, a half game in front of Wyoming. We'll be back with more from ExtraMile Arena. It was a good one here in Boise. The freshman, Tyson Dagenhart for Boise State, enjoying another home win for the Broncos, getting the 68-57 win against Utah State. For Nan Dickow and our entire CBS crew, I'm Chris Lewis. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, 24-hour home of CBS Sports. After the break, we'll take you out to the Thomas & Mack Center in Las Vegas for Colorado State and UNLV as coverage of March to March, presented by Principal Financial Group, continues.